Well, hello and welcome to what I hope is the first of a long series of CArehart quick tips where I want to share various tips primarily related to doing CF server troubleshooting and administration, but some of them will apply to people doing any kind of server administration. And while I may sometimes show things that will be Windows focused, I'll show things that'll often be generic to any OS. But this first one I do want to do is of particular interest to Windows folks. There will often be times when we need to run various applications that might require that we be running at the Windows command prompt. And so I want to show a couple ways to get to that command prompt, perhaps a couple that are quicker than you might be used to, and talk about a couple nuances related to it. So first, let's say we wanted to run a command. There are certain commands, for instance, in ColdFusion, like the cfstat command that's in the ColdFusion 10 cfusion bin directory. We might run that, and we need to be at the command prompt to be able to run it. Now, most people that would run things or want to get to the command prompt for years, they've maybe gone to the start menu and clicked run and typed cmd. That's been available pretty much since XP, and that'll take you to a command prompt, and you can get out of it by typing exit. Now, some of you will notice when you click on the start menu that you may see the command prompt offered as an option, and you can just open that and that'll take you to the command prompt. If you don't see that option there, you can click on the start menu, go to programs or all programs, accessories, and there will be the command prompt. Okay. Now, sometimes when you run one of these tools, you might want to be at what's called a elevated command prompt or the administrator. And so to do that, you would right click on this command prompt and say run as administrator. And you'll be prompted, under most circumstances with Windows Access Control, you'll be prompted to confirm that you want to do that. And now I'm at a command prompt that's at the administrator level, and I can confirm that because it says here it's at the administrator command prompt. Now, one other way you could confirm whether you were doing it was that some programs only run when you're at an elevated command prompt. So for instance, the net session command that runs says there's no entries in the list, but if I were to run that command prompt without elevating it and say net session, it says access denied. Now, sometimes on some systems you may find that you don't need to do the run as administrator. Just as soon as you open the command prompt, it will say that it's an administrator command prompt. So if so, great. Now, some of you are thinking, well, I am an administrator, so I don't need to do this. Not so fast. Sometimes even when you are in the administrator group, there'll be some things you try to do that if you don't run the command prompt as an elevated administrator command prompt, you won't be able to do it. So do consider that. And finally, here's one other tip for opening the command prompt as administrator. If you do come in here, you could type run and cmd. I'll also share that you can just type right here cmd. So as soon as you hit the start menu, type cmd. Now it does two things. It causes the display of the command prompt up there, but even without selecting that, as soon as you've typed cmd, if you do control shift enter, that again, as you can see, it prompts for the user access control, and I am an administrator prompt. So that's another nice shortcut for getting to the command prompt as an administrator. Again, it was, I said, start, typed cmd, and just immediately hit control shift enter, and there was my prompt. Now, one of the tricks I want to share is, let's say you wanted to get to, like I said, this ColdFusion 10 cfusion bin directory. Now, some of you will know that you can come up here onto the address bar and click to the right of the URL, and now you can, or to the right of the path there, and you can highlight this and copy it to the clipboard, go to your command prompt, do a change directory, and then paste it in. There's several ways to paste things in. You can go to edit, paste, or you could have just right clicked and pasted, and that would get you to that command prompt, and that's great. And then we can do that cfstat command, for instance. That's what I wanted to show you. And by the way, if you do the cfstat command and the instance you're looking at isn't running, you'll get an error. Or if you haven't started cfstat yet, that's something you enable in the CF administrator on the debugging page. If you haven't checked that checkbox, you'll be told that it doesn't work. So in this case, I happen to be looking at a server where my CF10 instance is not running. Anyway, that's not the point of this presentation. The last tip I want to share is, let's say we did want to run this cfstat command And by the way, that's cfstat, not cfstart. So cfstat from the cf10 cfusion bin directory. Well, let me share a little tip with you. If you go one level above the directory that you want to open, you can, if you right click on it, you don't see this, you just see open new window and whatever else you might have installed. But if you shift right click, check it out. If I shift right click on a directory, there's open command window here, and it goes right into that directory, and then I could do my cfstat command. So that's cool. If you missed it, let me show you again. When you're looking at a directory, you can shift and right click on it, and there you'll see open command window here. Now if you do it over here on this side of Windows Explorer, there's just a right click, and if I say shift right click, okay, some versions of Windows, like I think perhaps it was Windows 7 or Vista, you couldn't see that, but this is Windows 2008, and there it is. So either side looks like it works, but that's a nice tip. So I hope you find that helpful, and look forward to more tips from me to come in the future.